Live. I'll introduce
Sweet.
myself really quick as we're just chatting away. I'm Catherine Hood. I'm a happiness coach. I work with individuals in small groups, helping you define what happiness is for you or the small group, small community, whatever it is, however we're working in whatever capacity, because happiness is elusive to some. I think that we're conditioned and taught, and we learn throughout our lives that happiness is outside of us, that we have to achieve it, we have to work for it, we have to obtain it, we have to capture it, we have to grab a hold of it and maintain it. And when I work with clients, they come to the realization that happiness is really within. And so I deeply, deeply enjoy working with people and cultivating and creating happiness in their lives. So, Ian, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Ian Gregoire, peak performance coach, life and business strategist based in Walla Walla, Washington. I help professionals, entrepreneurs, founders, owners, executives streamline business and life so they can do more of what they love. And I love to help with strategic action planning, custom accountability, creative problem solving, accountability, just to make sure that people get to where they want, both in their personal and their professional lives. Yeah. Welcome to Free Frame, everybody.
Free framing it means that we bring up a topic and talk about it and discuss it from the coaching mindset. And, a lot of what I think that we've talked about so far is, what we see in our coaching practice. And that's kind of what we were chatting about before I hit live was, what are the themes? What are we seeing with our clients right now? For me, I spoke briefly before I hit record or went live was, just really believing the stories that we create in our minds. Like we create this, it's almost like this victim villain storyline that, we're the victim in circumstances and pointing fingers and blaming people and situations and circumstances for how our reality feels, if we're feeling stuck, if we're feeling stressed, if we're feeling disappointed, if we feel angry. Us humans have a tendency to, even me, I'm guilty of this, to be able to, point a finger and say, you're making me feel X, Y, and Z, but that's really not true. Our feelings are felt through our thoughts and our consciousness. Our consciousness brings our thoughts to life. We feel it in our body, and everybody's different. They'll feel it in their head, their neck, their shoulders, their thighs, their stomach, their chest. There's just different places that we feel things. So, and Ian was speaking about, what were you speaking about? You were talking about how priorities, you're seeing a theme of priorities in your practice.
Yeah. I work with a lot of people on prioritization in order to, streamline their business and life, to get the things done personally and professionally so that they can create that sense of joy and happiness. But to piggyback on what you were talking about, Catherine, it brought up about the victim villain storyline, how our reality feels. It reminds me of how important emotional regulation is for our success. And I work with a networking group, and I was talking to them yesterday, and my ask to them is, ground and elevate and expand yourself so that you can serve others on a higher level. So you can increase your ability to serve. And I'm not talking about just crazy putting in more hours and like being on as many nonprofit boards as possible and, working 80 hours a week. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about working hard to work smart, like working on your business instead of in your business, like work in ways that will have leverage, not just with money, but also with your time and energy. And so they all go hand in hand. But you were also mentioning like that story that people tell themselves, and like you, I'm guilty of giving myself the victim playing the victim villain storyline. And I think that it is extremely important, and I believe that you and I do this, is that we live our coaching. Like, we practice what we preach, we walk our talk, and that means we have to actually do tough work all the time on ourselves. And I was like, dang it, like, I'm giving myself a bad storyline this past week, and I had to sit down and write out like what the storylines I want to tell myself that are empowering, that are powerful for myself, so that I can exert a sense of authority and control on myself and the things within my power, within my reach. It's not about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself and the things that are within your sphere of control. I call it my business. And when I refer to my business, I refer to my stuff, my money, my property, my cars, like everything that I am responsible for is my business, and then as well as myself. And so, I'm just really curious what kinds of things you have clients do to rewrite that story in their minds that changes their own chemistry, that helps them not only feel more empowered, but actually be more empowered and act empowered and exist empowered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just like you talked about at the beginning, is emotional regulation is really understanding your emotions, your feelings, what creates those, the good, bad, the ugly, the right, the wrong. It's purely thought. It's the stories that we make up, that we, deeply get wedded to, that we feel through our consciousness. We feel it in our body. And so, sometimes, it's really key to come to a coaching session really relaxed, really calm, and feeling safe, because when you do this and you're really in a place where you have no distractions and you're just sitting and you're really wanting to have a deep heart-to-heart conversation and really get some insight and get a good feeling, you really can access your own inner wisdom. You can access, what will work for you. Because coaching really isn't about telling you what to do. You know what to do. It's just covered up by a lot of thinking and a lot of stories. So, I like to help my clients gather evidence and proof that they feel their thoughts. And it looks different with every coaching session. I don't have, a process or a way of doing things, because every human being is different and unique. But it's really about really getting clarity on what they're bringing to the coaching session. How is this a problem? And what is the feelings that you're having? What are your, what thoughts precede those feelings? And oftentimes they're like, well, I never thought of that. I think with a lot of society pressures and cultural, expectations and different things of that nature, a lot of people are really left brain, survival brain dominant. And oftentimes when I work with clients that are very left brain dominant and survival brain and worried and anxious and thinking about the past, thinking about the future, worried about what they don't have and what they want to have, and their desires are controlling them and wanting to control everything outside of them, they're really actually very brilliant, smart people. But when they slow down and come to a coaching session in a place where they feel safe, it's quiet, they have greater access to the right hemisphere of the brain that's more innovative and creative and fun and playful, kind of like that childlike way of being. So, it just varies client to client, but oftentimes I'll ask them, when's the last memory that you have? It could be recent, could be a long time ago, where you're really happy, you're smiling, maybe laughing. What were you thinking about? And they always come back with, I wasn't thinking about anything. I was really present. I was really felt safe. I felt free. I felt light. Well, you can access that any day of the week. You can access that when your boss is yelling at you. You can access that when you get terrible news. It's a choice. It's really understanding how your brain, thought, consciousness works and using it, training your brain to work for you rather than against you. Because the longer you stay in survival brain, it just really reinforces that neural pathway to stay in this fear-based thinking, worry, concern, anxiety. And basically people isolate themselves further and further and further, and they box themselves in and they label themselves as an introvert and all these things that really, truly, honestly limit you in your life. It really, opportunities that come about, you won't even see them because you're just clouded by so much fear. So, to answer your question, it's unique and different for every person. It's really about gathering a list of those things where they feel safe. They're able to access their emotional regulation. They're able to take ownership of their emotions. They're able to dictate how they feel and how they want to feel moment to moment, and living their life from the inside out, their life from their truth, from their values, from their morals or principles, however they want to define it, and really giving them hope and really helping them understand that there's nothing wrong with them. Not at all. Their brain has just been learned a way of thinking, a thought pattern, and generating these stories that they're gathering evidence and proof that they're a victim. And I know sometimes that's really jarring when I tell clients that, like, well, it sounds like you're a victim and everybody else is the villain. But the reality is that's a horrible way to live. It really is. And that's emotionally, mentally, and physically draining. And is that how you want to live? And they always tell me no. So the only way to change that is to add more hope, love, safety, and security in your story.
It's beautiful. I love everything you said. I'm here taking notes, and my brain always goes to, and I think you're the same. My brain goes to that balance spot of, I really love what you said, access inner wisdom. And, the self knows what to do. And I think that's often the case. I think that's often true. Perhaps, back to Pareto principle, 80% of the time. And as well as, and part of what I do is help people access the wisdom of others, right? And I love what you said about being present, being self-aware, being free, being light, being safe. And the opposite side of that to me is like being able to respond appropriately. And if you can balance those two, wow, you become a super developed human. And back to you, like training the brain to work for yourself, living from the inside out, yet also, being empathetic, hearing what a person is saying, hearing the person or the environment, so that we are receiving information from the outside in order to respond appropriately. And I don't think I'm saying anything that you don't know or agree with, and I'm not trying to argue with you, because I think we're actually saying a lot of the same things. But I just want to add that perspective, and I 100% agree with you, because this morning I was like, okay, got a bunch of stuff to do. Okay, I've got meetings, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, I want to take a walk. Okay, what am I going to write about? And you're like, okay, just go on a walk and just walk and breathe some fresh air and get the mind calm. And, it was really a useful moment for me before, going into work and filming this with you. And so, like, you're totally right. You're totally right about cultivating that sense of presence, self-awareness, freedom, light, safety. I think that I have been guilty of in the past cultivating too much of that and not being on top of stuff enough. And it's just back to that balance piece of, like, cultivating present self-awareness, freedom, light, and safety, but then also responding appropriately to the environment and the situation.
Yeah, we're born with one fear, and it's loud noises, and that's it. So all the other fears that we have that we pick up throughout our life are learned. And our brain is very malleable. It's very adaptable. It will mold and change to what we want more of in our life. It's just knowing how it functions, how simplistic our brain is, and being able to live in the moment notice and be aware of how our thoughts create our reality. And having that, and just like what you're saying is, you're agreeing, and you have, as I probably speak, you can think of different situations. And a lot of my brand new clients are logically, they agree with me logically, and intellectually they'll agree with me, and then we get off the phone and it's just like poof, they go back into life and reactive mode, right? So back to that victim mode of life is happening to me situation. And it truly, it sometimes some clients actually pick up on it right away. They're like, holy crap. I've had clients 2 sessions deep go completely change their lives, completely 180. Like they access that inner wisdom inside of them, right? All the fears are removed. They go, holy crap, I'm living a fake life. I'm living a life that I don't want to live. I am people pleasing or whatever the situation is for them, and they just take off the mask or the multiple masks that they've put on their whole life, and trying to please everybody, their family, and having a job and being a certain way. And finally they access their innate health, what they truly deeply believe in. So many people, if you ask them straight out, what are your values? They don't know. So I have some fun questions that I ask people throughout coaching for me to kind of poke around and get a good feel of what their values are without asking them directly. And I kind of truly, create a note sheet on all my clients. And it kind of over time working with them, I get a greater sense of what is intrinsically valuable to them. Just like, somebody says, hey, I want to work out, I want to lose weight, I want this, I want that. If it's not intrinsic, it's not sustainable. Intrinsic meaning it truly is something that they, an identity that they want to have, hold, believe in, like it's part of who they want to transform into. Extrinsic would be doing it for, someone will like me more because I look a certain way or whatever. So it's really truly getting people in alignment with their values. A lot of people really lose that. A lot of my clients are in their 50s and they really don't know who they are. Like I've had probably 3 clients in the last week get really emotional and truly say out loud, I don't know who I am. I have been living a life pleasing other people or living up to other people's expectations, and I truly don't know who I am anymore. I've lost that. I don't know who I am. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any interests. And and then the shame and the guilt kicks in, and I ground them back down again. And life, we can pivot. But anyways, I love working in this space of finding meaning in everybody's life, and it's unique to them.
So interesting, taking notes and listening. And I think that the interesting thing that you brought up to my mind right now is the hobbies and interests thing. It's, for some reason, I find that really, really interesting because at this point in my life, it's just like, it's very simple. Like taking a walk, working out, cooking good food, making sure the wood is chopped, developing relationships. And I guess for some reason, I feel like there's pressure in our society to have a bunch of hobbies and interests or be really good at something, whether it's remote control airplanes or bowling or whatever. And I'm not knocking any of those things. If someone wants to go do that stuff, go do it. Go do it. But I just think like life can be, if you can focus on the basics, life can be quite fulfilling just doing the basics in life. Like it doesn't have to be some crazy thing, crazy good or crazy something special or crazy vacations or whatever. Um, I think oftentimes people are using those as ways to escape a life that they've created that they don't actually enjoy. And I find that so sad and just so like, I guess like culturally disturbing in like not a victim villain sort of thing, as opposed to like just kind of this is what we've collectively created or what a person has individually created for themselves. And like let us create a life that we don't need or want a vacation from, you know, like let us create a society where we enjoy what we're doing. And gosh, like I know there's a lot of hard people that do a lot of hard jobs, and I very much value that. And I value what they do, and you know, by all means, go to Vegas or Mexico, take that vacation, like get a remote control airplane or go bowling. Like great. But if a person is like, if a person wants to make a change and knows they can do better, simply by choosing different actions, thoughts, and words, like okay, like let's make things better through different choices, thoughts, words, and actions. And I just think about how great our society would be if we all started to evolve our level of choices. If we started to make better choices individually and collectively, I think we have a long way to develop as individuals and societally. And so a lot of what I do is help people make better choices in their day-to-day personal professional lives so that they can feel better and they can lift up those around them. And it turns into being things that are relatively simple, but simple ain't easy necessarily. And so you end up doing a lot of hard things that are simple that make yourself and others around you better.
I think the thing that pops up for me is there's a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think social media breeds that. You know, you'll see, like, I have friends that are incredibly what I call restless energy. Like they're just doing, constantly doing things, and they're constantly documenting it on social media. And that energy, I admire it. I'm like, wow, you're doing so many incredible, amazing things, making memories and experiences. But I've also been with those people where they've done that selfie with me. And when the selfie's not happening, they're not fully present. Like they're just, their brain is just, you know, and they're just not like, it's the energy that's, it's amazing and it's incredible and inspiring, but also part of me is like, whoa, a little too much for me. But we're all unique and different, right? So, and then you have the other type of person that's very quiet, very reserved, and when they say things, it's very profound and amazing and incredible. But they're, you know, they really feel empowered and stronger when they're in quiet space and alone. You know, so we're all different and unique and beautiful, and we need all this uniqueness in our lives, in our world, in our communities, and our culture. We need all of that. So nothing is right or wrong. I think it's really embracing who you are and, you know, really finding ways to solve problems in your life. I do believe that that's critical for our the way the human beings are wired. You know, if you kind of think of us in the caveman days, you know, we are kind of programmed and wired to go out and forage for our food and water and our shelter and fire and do all these solve problems on a daily basis. And with the way that we live today, I feel like, you know, if your life is pretty simplistic, right? You work come home, make dinner, go to bed, go to work, whatever. Your life is really simple and you're kind of not really solving any problems. You're not growing, you're not stretching yourself, you're not expanding, you're not going outside of your comfort zone, you're not challenging yourself, you're not looking for new ways and to access corners of your brain and evolve and expand and whatever that looks like for you. If you're not accessing that, I think that we end up kind of going into this depressive state, right? This woe's me and my life is lame and my life is boring. And, but I saw a video on this not too long ago that just hit me really, really hard is, this gentleman was on an airplane and he was flying actually to the Arctic Circle in Alaska. And I don't know how long he was planning on being there, but he basically, I think it was like a retreat or something he had planned that he's like, I just need to do something different. He had a very high speed, high stress job. And he just wanted to just disconnect from everything. And so we went to the Arctic Circle, and on the way there on the plane, all I could think about the stories and the thoughts that were playing in his head was, how horrible these seats are on the plane, how uncomfortable, and how, she gave me my soda with no ice and she wouldn't even smile at me. Like he was just like creating all these stories and thoughts and beliefs on this plane ride to the Arctic Circle of how horrible everything was. And so he went to the Arctic Circle and like all this technology, all these comforts that we have, all the, access to food and ease and comforts and coziness was ripped from him for a period of time. And he got back on the same airline, maybe not the same plane, but the same company, the same airline, got all the same drink, food, and all the things and everything on the way back. And he was like grateful. He was appreciative. He realized, that, in that experience that, we human beings love to solve problems. So that might be a hobby. It might not be. It might be working in your community and helping the homeless. It might be, getting a higher education. It might be, it's different for everybody. It's not. And that's what I see about the FOMO thing is that there's so many people that come to me like, I should be doing these things. And they have like this long list of things. I should write a book. I should do this. I should look a certain way. I should fit in this. And I should all this shoulding. And I'm like, quit shooting yourself. Let's find out really what's in alignment for you. And it's really about what inspires you, what interests you, what excites you. How can you get out of bed feeling freaking excited and go to bed feeling proud?
I love it. I see Michael Morgenstern popped in. Hey, Michael, doing great. The question that I want to pose, and I'd like people to answer this in the chat, is, how are you going to challenge yourself? How are you going to solve problems on a higher level? Because you're right that humans are designed to solve problems. It's the same thing with business. It's the same thing in relationships or with health. How are you going to solve problems? How are you going to challenge yourself? And I think back to the FOMO thing, I think oftentimes people take it to the extreme of like, well, I want to run like every marathon on every continent, or like, sure, okay. Well, like, I think people often challenge themselves to the point to their own detriment. And I think that's going beyond flow state. And, oftentimes people injure themselves, which it's great to know your limits, but like, how can you appropriately challenge yourself? How can you appropriately solve problems in your own life or the lives of others? And I think it can be kind of mundane or not nearly as exciting as like saying you climb the tallest mountain peaks on every continent. And if you solve problems already, maybe that's what you want to do, and maybe that is the appropriate thing. But like, I really want people to answer this question for themselves. How are you going to challenge yourself? How are you going to solve problems on a higher level? And I'd love to hear about it in the chat.
And I would add too, if there's something you heard in this video today, and we're going to close it up because I do have a class to get to in 5 minutes, but if there's something you heard today and what we talked about, what we spoke of, please do share it in the chat. Feel free to share this video with those that maybe could use a bit or a piece of what we've talked about today, that might inspire them. Feel free to share this video, tag people in it, whatever, in any kind of social media, likes, thumbs up, whatever really helps get more views and more exposure. Because I think that what we talked about today is pretty, all the things we spoke about are things that we all are challenged with off and on throughout our lives, and some more than others. And so that's what we want to bring forward with these free frames, is kind of just, what we're going through, what we're experiencing, and from a coaching mindset, and hopefully you guys receive some sort of insight while listening to this and willing to share it with those that you care about.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thanks again for hosting.
You're welcome. All right, so we'll be back probably not next week because I'll be on the road traveling for the 17th. I think we could do the 17th. Yeah, we'll do the 17th. But the following week I'm gone again. So it'll be a little off and on, but then we'll get back to being more consistent. But love you guys. Give us lots of thumbs up, give us lots of support, and definitely comment in the chat, answer our questions, and engage with us. We love to see what your thoughts are. Bye.